Welcome to Connection Corner, Seizing the AI Moment, brought to you by Women in Technology Hollywood. Hello and welcome to the podcast series Seizing the AI Moment. In each episode, we dive into conversations with AI executives, trailblazers, and innovators who are reshaping technology in the creative and business worlds. I'm your host, Filiz Bahmanpour, board member with Women in Technology Hollywood and head of media and entertainment at Tavant Technologies. Over the years, I've led product development and business transformation at NBCUniversal, Universal Theme Parks and Resorts, and Nielsen Grace Note. And along the way, I even shared an Emmy with the SNL crew. I'm passionate about the innovation and entertainment and advertising and serve as advisor to emerging tech and AI companies. Today, we are diving into how AI is transforming theme parks, creating personalized guest experiences, and optimizing operations and making the magic even more immersive. Our guest is Mafrene Lisboa, a technology executive with more than 20 years in hospitality and entertainment. As VP of Enterprise Data and AI at Universal Destinations and Experiences, she leads a global team using data and AI to transform every click, interaction, and in-park moment into personalized experience. She also heads Universal's AI Center of Excellence and AI Board, driving innovation and governance to ensure AI enhances every touch point for guests and team members. Mafrene, welcome.
Thank you, Feliz. It's sincerely so great to be here. I appreciate you having me. It means a lot to be invited and to lend my voice to the WITH community. So I appreciate you inviting me.
Wonderful. Mafrene, I had the pleasure of working with you briefly and witnessed you bring experience, expertise, and thoughtful leadership to data space and how that impacts, of course, all of the touch points when we began the journey of creating universal experiences across web, mobile, e-commerce channels in multiple parks, multiple locations around the world. I'm sure you progressed significantly since then, of course. Now you're leading cutting-edge AI at Universal Theme Parks. Was data and AI always the career path you planned and wanted to pursue? Or did you just stumble into it?
Yeah, so my journey started in data, right? Not the flashiest origin story, but being in data really allowed me to build the foundations for everything that I do today. I began as a data engineer. I grew into leadership where I had the privilege of transforming core data practices around and across multiple organizations. And that expanded into working with marketing technologies and customer data platforms and API integrations. So I spent a lot of time in data. And then after 18 years of being in data, I reached a crossroad. I felt I had plateaued in the data space. And I knew I needed to go beyond data and if I really wanted to expand or broaden that technology expertise. So that opportunity came for me when I joined Universal as a vice president of software architecture and engineering. And really it was my first role that was beyond a pure data remit. So while I was in this new role and growing those roots, it was in this new opportunity that was now unfolding and in this new role with a new team, etc. It was also all happening in the midst of the pandemic. So there was a lot to do in this new role to really help Universal reimagine how parks were going to reopen. How are we going to reopen safely? How are we going to deliver those bold, tech-driven solutions that were going to support those social distancing expectations and those new operational models? So I had to learn quickly. I had to lead effectively in this new space and what felt like a new way of living as well at the time. And so being in that architecture leadership role, it really gave me a front row to, being able to manage an entire technology landscape. And so it was amazing journey because I also got a chance to lead transformation globally at Universal. So the good news is that, Universal became one of the first theme parks, one of the first businesses to reopen successfully, with the competitors trailing behind, by months, actually. And it was really a testament of the great teamwork and how quickly and smartly we moved. And a lot of those decisions really helped Universal shift from being a challenger brand to more of a leading brand. And so as Universal continued to grow, they also started to reshape the brand and wanted to expand beyond the theme parks and into establishing both parks and resorts and new destinations. So they knew that they had to accelerate the investment that was being made in transformation, and especially now in data and AI. So they were looking for somebody to lead the change. And with my previous background in data and in transformation, it made me, I guess, a natural fit to lead data and AI. So that's my current role. And that's really how my career journey brought me into this AI space. So just to kind of go back to your question about, was it intentional? Not really. I didn't really plan it. I don't think I actually just stumbled into it either. Let's just say, my career with data was like an organic path to AI. And it's just really the next logical chapter in the story that I've been writing for so long. And I really like this new chapter.
That's amazing. Actually, just sometimes we never sort of able to plan that journey, and it's never a linear journey, right? You just kind of gave a fantastic example of, we can't plan these things, COVID happening, but your leadership, obviously, to help with opening in Florida, I think it was in 2 months at 50% capacity. It was indeed a significant sort of experience and ability to show leadership at that very critical moment.
And we got to do some of that together, Filiz.
Yeah, that was wonderful. So, theme parks in itself also, right? Like such an interesting industry and built on magic and immersion. My personal favorites are Harry Potter worlds and, Halloween Horror Nights and Nintendo's of the world. But it's not just creativity and engineering, of course, it's the technology that brings those magical experiences, right? So when was it that when you first realized, I guess, in preparing for this role, that AI could really enhance those experiences, magical experiences?
Yeah. So you have a fellow Harry Potter fan here as well, by the way. Huge Potter fan. But AI has been in theme parks for a long time. We've used it to predict trends, to optimize ride capacity, to keep guests flowing smoothly through the park. And as tech evolves, so do businesses. And so with theme parks, it's no longer what you see at the park. It's about how it makes you feel like you're part of the story. And so we're talking immersive lands, we're talking interactive ones, and AR and VR, and now generative AI and agentic AI are taking this even further. And so it's no longer just in the guest experiences, but it's in content personalization. And it's now even behind the scenes in our engineering practices. So we've transformed so quickly as an industry and our business along with it. So I would say that my first aha moment or my realization of the power of Gen AI was actually at an executive conference. I was listening to Jeffrey Hinton. He's also known as the godfather of AI. And a fun fact, he actually won the Nobel Prize in physics for his work on deep learning a few days after that conference. So really brilliant, very inspiring speaker. The thing, though, that stuck with me was how he described generative AI not as a tool, but as a teammate, someone who could anticipate your thoughts, adapt to your style, keep pace with your creative ideas and leaps, And that really reframed how I saw AI's potential. And so really just tying it back to theme parks, right? Guests expect the same kind of connection, right? They want the parks to feel less like a place that they're visiting and more like a world that's waiting just for them, right? Imagine walking into it and it already knows your favorite ride, your go-to snack, your must-see characters. AI is no longer just, pulling the strings backstage. It's really becoming a part of the show itself.
Amazing how you put that. I call it like, all of us, I guess, use Gen AI nowadays, right? Like, we created our little twins. In fact, I call mine Tweenie, believe it or not. But I like that idea when I go to park, right? That I am known and like I don't need to spend time in the areas, especially in a big theme park. It could be time consuming. I want to make the most of my time when I go there. And I guess one of the things epic, right? The new Harry Potter ride. We're gonna go together, visit hopefully one day, one of these,
Let's do it.
soon days. I believe you were a Gryffindor as well, Mafrene Fire, you called us.
You have that right.
Wonderful. So this is one of the fun questions we ask our guests. If you could tell your younger self about one thing about AI and entertainment, what would that be? I mean, would you ever consider, right? Like picking that route, right? Like it was never there. But now that you are here, what is the advice to younger Mafrene or younger generations?
So depending on how far back we want to go, so I'll date myself here just a little bit. So a little bit about me, I'm fanatical about music. It's essential to me. It's a true gift to mankind. And as a teen, I loved to DJ parties. And so I'd line up all my CDs. I list out every song I was going to play. I planned a sequence. And then during the party, I would do this juggling act of like swapping discs in real time, right? All complete there with that awkward silence between songs and switching out CDs. But back then it felt normal, right? What was the other option? But you fast forward to MP3s and iPods, and then the whole digital age of music and platforms like Spotify using AI generated playlists and recommendation models and generated speech driven DJs and podcast hosts. Like it's completely revolutionized how I listen to music. And that's the thing about AI in theme parks, right? It's not about replacing the joy. It's about removing the friction. So you can be even more immersed in that experience. That way you get to enjoy the moment, whether that's enjoying your party without switching CDs or enjoying a day in the park. So I guess I would tell my teenage self that one day I'll have an AI DJ in my pocket that knows my music preferences better than I do, and that I will not have to stop dancing to sprint across the room and change a song.
Nice. Certainly, I didn't know that about you, but just like you, I love sort of, just waking up to my Spotify's customized list for me, right? Knows what kind of music I like when I'm running or having a restful moment. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think we know a world without it, right? I don't think we could imagine now a world without that convenience. So.
For sure. Just like the iPad generation, I think the new generation is not going to know any other way, right? And expect that to be there. Right. So that gives me a good segue into personalization, which is whether it's media entertainment, whether it's the theme parks, personalization is where hopefully we as consumers and guests get to experience better service and better enjoyment. How do you strike a balance between the personalization that is maybe too far, personalization versus privacy? Is there basically governance and some rules or policies that you're also considering when you're doing your work?
Yeah. And that's a great question. It's actually one that's top of everyone's mind right now. Hyper-personalization is really the heartbeat of engagement, right? Whether you're on social media, streaming music, shopping online, or at our theme park. So guests just expect now that meaningful interaction, right? It's designed for them. And AI is really enabling that. So you got to pair that with the responsibility on how to protect that trust. And so our goal is really to ensure that personalization feels like a service and not surveillance.
Yeah.
So right? So in my perspective on striking that balance is really shifting actually that balance, making it a little skewed towards privacy first, with personalization, enabled within those boundaries. So securing the data you use, anonymizing, pseudonymizing it wherever possible, enforcing those regulatory, those compliance, privacy rules, managing the explicit content opt-ins, and so I think if companies that are putting privacy at the forefront are in any scenario for AI or just data in general, I think they're realizing when they put in the forefront that it's consistently paying dividends later. I'd also add that there's another dimension to AI and privacy, which is observability. I think if you monitor with transparency and traceability and operate within secure environments, you can confidently trust that those safeguards that you're putting in place can easily identify an issue and you can promptly respond to it too. So combining those measures of, the data privacy and compliance, observability, governance frameworks around AI, like the AI COE, like an AI council, I think together you'll start to really deliver that meaningful personalized content, but also ensuring that privacy is not an afterthought. So really both, right? Balancing them both is important. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I guess that extends to the role that you mentioned you play as part of the AI Council, right, at UDX. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because every company that we talked during this podcast, in some shape or form, at their journey different places, right? And also there's variances, beauty sector versus the theme park sector, and we want our community to learn a little bit from each other. How does the council work? How did you guys sort of build it up, and who are part of it, and what are some of the top topics, perhaps, to the extent that you can share?
Of course. So I think a lot of establishing a COE was driven by the need to provide the enterprise, so technical and non-technical people, access to AI. Everyone wants to tinker and experiment with AI, but how do we do that safely? Just going back to the last question, right, that we just talked about around balancing privacy and personalization and all that rich data content that we have. So in order to be able to extend that self experimentation that folks wanted to have, we still wanted to make sure we created a safe environment. But we also wanted to make sure that we were able to, as a company, put the right safeguards in place, whether it was, responsible AI practices, whether it was putting a technical lens on behalf of, business teams as to whether a third party AI solution was architected in a way that would make us comfortable, or something we were custom building, or an LM that we wanted to utilize that may have been in the market and very recently. So the goal was to create a hybrid model that created structure, oversight, guidance, but also on the flip side, democratized and federated some of that flexibility. And so the COE was meant to enable that and really bring that possibility out. So some of the key areas we focused on upfront was creating a space where folks could experiment, but we network it in a way where our content, if they were to use an AI gateway that gave them access to multiple LLMs, they still know that the data that they put out there was secured within our network. So that was a good example. We had to create that environment for them and then open it up and make it available to them. But then we kind of got out of the way and said, okay, go ahead, experiment, work with LLMs if that's the path you want to choose. And a lot of our technical folks really went down the path. And then there was also the non-technical people just wanted to understand, how do I get better at prompt engineering? How do I use Copilot? So creating some of that environment and space for them to learn as well. And I think overall, it's had a really good outcome from the perspective of staying structured and not having to go out there and have to rally all the troops and gain control out of what could have been a pretty chaotic use of AI, but that is not how we started. And I really appreciate that we put this COE along with the support of an AI board in place so that we can activate users. We can get the guidance of our senior executive leaders as well, making sure they understand the paths we're taking, and then of course enabling the organization altogether. So it really ended up being a great starting point.
Yeah, that sounds like, the guidance, the education, and empowerment, sort of, all of the three. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. So going back to the, how that represents itself to within theme parks. I mean, besides the rides and, the front facing sort of experiences, AI is also, at least we hear, and extensively considered or used in some shape or form in the back office, right? Whether that's optimizing operations around staffing, food prep, and all kinds of operations. What's one AI powered innovation guests would never notice, but makes a big difference, in your opinion, in the back office world?
Sure. I would say because we've advanced so much in different areas of technology, there's a lot that the guests may not see or experience, but we hope are enjoying a lot of that experience. I would say that from a back office standpoint, we're utilizing AI to help us create further efficiencies, advance in our personalization opportunities so that we can, like I said earlier, kind of be more crisp in how we entertain them when they are in the park and how we customize that interaction when they get to the park. So I would say that there isn't really one specific solution that I could call out that would suggest that would be the a perfect example. But I think just generally speaking, there's just been so much adoption of AI over the years, and now generative AI. So yeah, I think that we're utilizing AI to personalize more. I think that's where a lot of our focus is. We want to, AI doesn't guess, right? It's utilizing a lot of the data that we have based on past behaviors and preferences of our guests in real time context of the weather and crowd flow. And so when you bring all that data together, you really have that information to help guests anticipate what to do next. But AI as well has blind spots.
Yeah.
It can use the data that we've given it to predict, but it also cannot necessarily predict those unobserved human moments. So, the sudden decision to ride a ride the second time, or
Yeah.
a craving for a certain favorite food, or the kids' ice cream fell down, and so we're trying to make sure that whatever we do as an underlying AI solution balances strategies like personalization, so that we can blend a little bit of here's what we know you're very, very likely and can predict you're going to want to see or do next, but also provide, guests the opportunity to explore something beyond maybe their typical style, and like something that would broaden their horizon of options. And you see this happen a lot with like Netflix and Spotify, where there's some very obvious favorites that show up in those recommendations, but then there's something kind of different in there. And I think their way of in a way experimenting with new horizons with you. So there's a lot of that kind of magic working behind the scenes so that we can balance what we know and what we recommend in the most relevant way possible.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you for those very thorough answers, as you always would do, Mafrene. Now, this section is going to challenge you, all right? Because you're going to only answer yes or no.
Ooh, okay.
I warn you, though, it might be a little bit out there, but that's the intent. Thought-provoking yes or no questions. All right, here I go. Will AI ever replace human tour guides?
Not completely.
Yes or no?
Am I allowed? I guess in that case, no.
I'm joking, but yes. Could AI design an entire theme park without human creativity?
No.
Absolutely
That's a
no.
pretty certain no.
Absolutely no, right? I mean,
That's right.
imagination of humans, and especially when it comes to theme parks, loved seeing, creativity of, creative
Mhm.
departments, but also all of the team members, right, in every area of theme parks. Will there be a day we as the guests let it fully plan our day at the park? Even AI to
Yes.
plan our.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wow,
I
that's a
do believe that.
surprising answer for me. Interesting. So based on my interests and experiences and likes and dislikes, there could be a basically plan done for me, and I happen to like it a lot. Just like watching Netflix. Oh, I like this recommendation and I'll take it.
Yeah, and if I may, right, I think that the reason for the yes is because there's a lot of guests that want to maximize their experience in the park. So they're going to take that guidance. I do think that, I mean, that was a little bit of a binary yes, no, but I do think
Yeah,
the
sure.
we're going to have to create flexibility too, right? To give them again that opportunity for moments where there's spontaneity and things that just unplanned that happen. So flexibility is key, but will they have that ability? Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. The technical capability is there. And just like the
Right.
Spotify, right? I'm running and it gives, sometimes it gives me a recommendation. I'll take it. I love it, right? I don't need to change it. I don't need to work on it.
That's right.
Wonderful. So now we're getting into a section called hot takes. These are, I mean, it's not a yes or no question, so you can speak, but it's brief, intended to be brief answers around fast paced, future focused, again, thought provoking ideas. Or maybe things that you're already working on, given how advanced you are, Mifreen, and the theme parks team is. First one, AI powered pricing. Is it a smoother visit for the guests or a surprise factor today?
I think I do believe it can be both, right? I think AI powered pricing can definitely smoothen the visit by balancing demand and with reduced wait times. There's huge benefit and advantage to guests if we're doing that in a systemic way. But I also do think that it can quickly become frustrating for a guest if we're seeing spikes in prices. So it has to be done in a guest centric way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it becomes really handy probably for those loyal customers that want to do multiple visits and they can take advantage of the price-wise advantageous times. Facial recognition. This is a big thing I know for Universal theme parks, especially, when we opened the China park, probably again was leading the space. Talk to me what you guys are doing in this space. I love it when I go to airport and it makes my life easier, right? So is it more walk right in or people are still getting used to it? And what are you guys using maybe in general?
Yeah, I think optimistically, I'd say just walk right in at this point. The
Yeah.
future is now, and more of the new generations recognize that some of those concerns around privacy and stuff, specifically with things like biometrics, that there was heightened concern about. I think the new generations is recognize that if they feel safe to provide those biometrics to trusted organizations, then it's really a small price to pay for the convenience that they get out
Mhm.
of that experience. But so I would say there's more guests that walk in feeling quite comfortable and don't hesitate because they recognize that the experience after that is well worth it.
What are some of the benefits, I guess, of in the theme parks wise? Is it just wait times? You
The
mentioned wait
facial.
times. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so with facial recognition, one, you get entry is a lot more streamlined, especially if, for example, you are an annual pass holder or a season
Yeah.
pass holder. Because once
Mhm.
we have you, you don't have to worry about pulling your mobile phone or your ticket out of your pocket to scan it. We know
Mm.
you, we see you, you're in. When you connect, going between the parks, so we're through like in our Orlando parks, we've got the Hogwarts Express that bridges you between the Islands of Adventure Park along to the Studios Park. In that case, you again get the benefit of just walking right through, not having to shuffle for your technology and your devices too, or even your paper ticket, if that's what you have to pass. So it's meant to create that a seamless experience. Express is another a huge benefit. Everyone's eager to get into the line because inevitably there's some kind of a wait. So but there's this excitement about experiencing the attraction, and we the only thing keeping the only friction point I would say is that moment of registering that ticket or scanning that ticket. So with facial recognition or photo validation, you walk right through.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In terms of rides, that what we hear and read at times is those rides that responds to your emotional and kind of gives you the options to like change. What are some of the examples? I mean, is that a game changer? Is that something that is happening? Because that's also talked about in the entertainment business, right? Like depending on how you respond, changing the script on the fly kind of moment. Is it a game changer or too far ahead?
I think it could be a great additive experience, right? To give guests adaptable rides. I do think that from a theme park perspective, both the excitement and the terrifying moments are emotions we go for. We want you to enjoy the
That's true.
thrill, right? Whether you're crying in fear but enjoying it or laughing in excitement, either way. But I think the beauty of that would be balancing whether we guests want to opt in on how that personalized experience of that attraction or that ride is, or just allowing us to decide. So I think having the flexibility is probably going to be an even better option than just doing it one way, which would
Yeah.
be an adaptation.
I think I'm getting this common theme around flexibility. I like it. How about AI-powered holograms or famous characters? A game changer or again, too far? We're taking too far.
Also a game changer. I think being able to bring some of your beloved characters into physical spaces can be enchanting if you do it tastefully, right? And if the mechanics are flawless. So
Mhm.
you don't want to take away from the magic of that moment or that experience. So it has to be done right. But if done right, I think it could be quite exhilarating.
Yeah. I now imagine suddenly a Quidditch game. Little
Yes,
hologram from Harry Potter. I'll take that one.
that's right.
Mifreen, I think we're coming to the end. This is so enjoyable. If there's one takeaway for theme parks and AI, what would that be?
I would say that the wow factor for theme parks has always been storytelling. And AI with AI, the story will no longer feel like it's the same for everyone. So I think the future is really those park experiences or those destination experiences that knows you, that adapts to you, that makes every visit feel like it was designed just for you. And it's kind of what you said. You would love to be in a world like that. And I really, really do think that that is the kind of direction we are going in and that we need to continue striving for.
I think I just got the thrills. I think you're going to make it happen. Where can people follow you or your work? Is it LinkedIn or do you have other forms of spreading these beautiful thoughts around industry?
Right now, it's just LinkedIn. So reach out, if you have ideas or want to talk about theme parks and where we could be going. Just reach out and connect with me. It'll be great to dream a little and brainstorm.
Thank you, Mafrene. Thank you for being a guest on our Seizing the AI Moment podcast and being as part of the Women in Technology community. And that's a wrap on today's episode of Seizing the AI Moment, AI in Theme Parks with Mafrene Lisboa, powered by Women in Technology Hollywood. We hope you're leaving with new insights today to inspire your next move. If you enjoyed this episode on podcast platforms and YouTube, be sure to subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, all right, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you, Mafrene. Appreciate it.
It's been fun, Filiz. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching Connection Corner, Seizing the AI Moment, brought to you by Women in Technology Hollywood.